2, now bound for the moon. Humanity's next.
Good, roll pitch.
Roger, roll pitch.
Houston, now controlling the flight of integrity on the Artemis 2 mission around the moon.
The integrity, AMD high.
So yeah, everybody does love a good rocket launch. The rocket you're seeing right here is a rocket from the Artemis missions. This rocket is the Artemis 2 and was launched in April of 2026. It is a manned mission that's going to get into the moon's orbit, do a loop around the moon, making that crew the humans that have traveled the furthest from the Earth, and then they'll come back. This is a stepping stone in us building a base on the moon. So the main thing that I got to ask is, why are we spending billions of dollars to go to the moon? Well, there's several reasons that I've heard, but there's only one real reason why we're doing this. And let's go to greater minds about space and ask them what they think. Let's start with Neil deGrasse Tyson. As far as I'm concerned, he is one of the authorities on space, and whenever something happens with space, he's one of the first guys I go to. Let's check it out, Neil.
So Yuri Gagarin comes out of orbit.
Okay.
Okay?
Right.
First man in space.
Yeah.
To orbit the Earth.
Right.
6 weeks later, we have a joint session of Congress. President Kennedy says stirring words, put a man on the moon, return him safely to Earth before the decade is out. Go earlier a couple of paragraphs in that same speech. If the events of recent weeks couldn't even utter the man's name.
Right.
The events of recent weeks are any indication of the impact of this adventure on the minds of men everywhere, then we need to show the world the path of freedom over the path of tyranny. The enemy is established.
Right.
The godless enemy is established.
Right.
The checks were written.
And yeah, well, there you go.
And they'd already beaten us with the first animal in space, Laika. They did already beat us at all of that. We needed something to beat them. So we said, let's go to the moon.
We're going to land on the moon.
And walk around.
And walk around.
Even though they beat us in all these other categories.
Right.
And we did. So what happens? We get to the moon, look over our shoulder, no Ruskies. We're done here. So did we really go to explore?
No.
Or did we go to just beat the Russians?
Right.
We have not been back to the moon in 50 years. So you know how many scientists went to the moon?
0?
No. One. Do you know which mission?
No.
The last mission.
17.
So we had the astronauts do science experiments. It's not that no science happened.
No.
But don't fool yourself into thinking this was all for exploration.
Right.
It was muscle flexing on the geopolitical sphere during a Cold War when we're fighting a hot war in Southeast Asia against that enemy.
So we went to the moon just to defeat the Russians. That is why we went to the moon. And if you don't believe Neil, because none of my conservative friends like Neil for whatever reason, let's ask Nixon why we stopped investing in going to the moon.
Russia was the first to put an object, an animal, and a person into orbit. But in 1969, America won the race to put man on the moon.
That's one small step for man.
By 1972, 12 US astronauts had been to the moon.
3, 2, 1.
But then the missions stopped.
Right away, Houston. Vector good.
The reason the U.S. didn't continue after 1972 is that the lunar exploration program was very expensive. It was billions of dollars, and President Nixon at the time pointed out that, well, we've already been there, and more importantly, we have defeated the Soviet Union in this race.
But what Neil was saying and what President Nixon was saying is that we went to the moon to defeat Russia. It wasn't so we could go to Mars. It wasn't for technology. It wasn't for science. It was to defeat Russia. And there's even more evidence to back that up. So once we defeated Russia in the space race and Russia was no longer going to the moon, we stopped going for like 50 years. And then all of a sudden we started spending more money on going to the moon. Why?
We don't go back to the moon. Not in the 70s, not in the 80s, not in the 90s. Oh, wait a minute, in the 20-teens. Let's go back to the moon. What a great idea. We're long overdue. It's been half a century.
Yeah. I wonder how the moon's doing.
Okay. Why did we have these thoughts? Let's part the curtains. What else happened in the 20-teens? China says they want to put taikonauts on the moon.
Oh.
Taikonaut, their version of a cosmonaut, our version of an astronaut.
Right.
Oh my gosh, China's going to the moon. If there's ever a reason for Congress to reinvigorate the funding to go back to the moon, it was that. So we announced program to return to the moon. So this happens under the Trump administration.
Yeah.
Okay. So Trump says, let's go back to the moon.
Yeah.
And the program to return to the moon has one of the best names ever.
Space Force?
No.
No, what is it?
Artemis.
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 Yes.
So who is Artemis in Greek mythology? Artemis is the twin sister of Apollo.
Look at that.
You can't get more woke than that.
All right, guys, explain to me this coincidence real quick. All right, so last time we tried to go to the moon, we were at war with Russia, who was trying to go to the moon. So we spent billions of dollars to go to the moon. And then we defeat Russia. We don't do anything about the moon for 50 years. And all of a sudden, China has a renewed push to go to the moon. Now, all of a sudden, the United States is interested in going to the moon. So the coincidence is pretty strong right there. Wouldn't you guys agree on that one? So we're going to the moon again because we don't want to lose to China. China, if they want to waste billions of dollars going to the moon, let them do it. It's bad for them. It's kind of like how we're at war right now, and China's just sitting back, just watching us just destroy our empire. It's kind of the same thing. And when it comes to China and space, well, their attitude towards space travel and adversaries are not the same as ours at all. Our politicians are like, dude, we have to get to space before China gets there, or else we're screwed. And China's just like, we'll go to space when we're ready. Like they're just our conservative politicians let China live in their head rent free, and China's just over there just doing their thing.
What does our treaty say about, like, water is now a commodity on the moon? So what does our treaty
There's
say?
the Outer Space Treaty,
Yeah.
which was modified, updated to become the Artemis Treaty.
Oh,
It's signed by 50, 60 countries.
okay.
Not China, not Russia.
Oh.
They came up with their own treaty that they signed among themselves. Okay, so they got a treaty. We got a treaty. The treaty means you help each other in
Right.
need. You don't hide secrets.
What a perfect opportunity to showcase cooperation
To
amongst
reinvent
nations.
ourselves as a cooperative
as
species.
a cooperative species. Like we're not on Earth anymore. Like we can't even go to the damn moon and work together.
These guys are like, they're throwing shade at the fact that we have separate treaties between, between the United States and our allies and China and their allies. And that's kind of weird. That's kind of sad that at this point, when it comes to space exploration, that we can't work together. And honestly, if we're not working together on space exploration, it's probably not really going to work out. We need to combine technologies. We need to combine money and effort to make this work. And if we're doing two separate things, this isn't going to work. And the way it's kind of going now is that we're going to have like some wars on the moon about, controlling certain areas with water. It's going to be interesting. But right now we're setting up the stage to have literal conflicts on the moon, over the moon.
Send humans to the moon by 2030. And it says it isn't in a race with the US.
中国无意和任何国家搞太空竞赛，我们也不谋求所谓的太空优势。
But China's president, Xi Jinping, says its ambition is to be a space power. American officials are clear how they feel about that.
We cannot lose the moon and lose the race to the moon to China.
If we fall behind, if we make a mistake, we may never catch up, and the consequences could shift the balance of power here on Earth.
As the US and China's programs have developed, so have two sets of plans for the moon.
On one hand, we have the US-led Artemis Accords that about 60 nations have signed, including India, which is a major spacefaring nation. On the other hand, you have China that is leading the International Lunar Research Station. Russia is a main collaborator, and about 10 nations that have joined that side.
Both the American and Chinese programs aim to have permanent bases on the moon, and getting there first may be the key.
The moon is the size of Africa, and there are only some regions on the moon that has resources. You basically are there first, and you have permanent infrastructure. Then if another nation has to land there, they have to take your permission.
Focus is on the moon's south pole, because frozen in its deep craters, there's water. This is essential to support human life on the moon, not only for astronauts to drink, but because water is made from hydrogen and oxygen, that oxygen could be extracted to give them air to breathe. And if separated, hydrogen and oxygen can become rocket fuel, which could be used for our future plans in space.
This time, we will not only plant our flag and leave our footprint, we will establish a foundation for an eventual mission to Mars, and perhaps someday to many worlds beyond.
All right, so I laid out my case for you guys. I believe that the United States going to the moon is 100% about politics. Soon as China said they want to go to the moon, all of a sudden, American politicians want to go to the moon. I think it's a huge waste of money. We should be spending the money on other things. And although I do find going to space cool and interesting, I just don't think that it's right for the human race at this point. We need to focus on humans. We need to focus on making life better here on Earth before we worry about going to live on Mars. So that's my space rant for the day. I will still follow the moon launches and all the trying to get to Mars and all that stuff because it is super interesting. But I do find it as being a huge waste of money, and we should be doing other things as a species. So that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you guys disagree with me on going to the moon as being politically based, please let me know. I would love to have that conversation with you. Catch you guys later.